I think it's time to probably go deeper. Welcome, friends. Yeah, we've just done our daily run-in meditation session. Now we're just thinking we're about to go into the forest and meditate even more. Really, this feels like the move. I feel, I turned 32 today. And it's interesting, I'm on day 3 of, or is it day 4? Now it's day 3, I think, officially, of zero social media. And of course, I think day 10 or something of meditating every day for about 45 minutes to an hour. And they seem to, of course, complement each other quite well, I would say. Here's this. This is the valley. We're now transitioning and going into this forest here. Just feels like the move. But man, yeah, I mean, I really find myself often sort of romanticize the idea of like what truly would reality be like without a phone at all, without social media at all, just being completely immersed within your reality, just being a person, just being a human being that doesn't have that mechanism or of course that distraction, or I don't know, it's just like a weird feeling. Say like when I watch movies and I see a movie where people live in a sort of country land, where they live somewhere off the grid. It really feels like, I mean, I'm pretty fortunate to live sort of in a very remote area anyways, near forests, near valleys, not near a lot of people, but what is good? What is good? Shift, probably interesting. Well, it looks like, interestingly enough, like last week when I was here, I did this kind of stream where I was just literally meditating, not really giving much energy or attention to, the random new coming strangers that were popping in. The sort of, as I underlined it, as I sort of gathered, the way that you show up, I feel, like you say just the way you show up in general, but on a YouTube live stream, someone's like, hey, I'm going to pop on a YouTube live stream. Maybe they got some time to kill for whatever reason, which is a very weird phenomenon, I always feel. But then they show up on a stream and they desire to be like, you know what? I'm going to say some compulsive projection. They're like, I'm just going to say whatever comes to mind. They're going to project, who knows, some sort of slur or hate speech, or who knows, some sort of weird negative projection. That says a lot. Like, trust me, you may sort of undermine that or kind of write it off like, I'm just trying to be a stand-up comedian, practice some wit or whatever. And hey, I'm all for comedy. I fuck with comedy. But I feel like when people don't realize how, if that's how they're showing up, even just on a YouTube live stream, I really feel like how they're showing up in the world is in a really, suppressed, a very compulsive, a very, I'd say, broken way. So, I don't know, friends. Say whatever nonsense you desire in the comment section. If a guy meditating in a forest, literally just doing his own thing, is something that evokes a response where you got to project your own compulsive insecurities about, I don't know, whatever you're dropping in the comment section, right? That says everything about you. It has nothing to do with me. And all I can say is, maybe you're here for a reason. Maybe you're here to try to learn or unpackage your own narrative. I mean, I'll ban your comment rights, obviously. You're not a member, you're not really an audience member of this channel if you're just going on to a YouTube stream and blabbering out some, I don't know, outlandish kind of hate speech or whatever you desire to do. I don't know. That's it's not something that's I've ever understood why people do that, but yeah, I'd say you're in probably the place. There's probably more significance in why you're showing up in a stream where a guy is basically here to meditate and just sit with silence. And you can imagine, it's almost like you are probably actually the target, I'd say, person to probably benefit from trying to penetrate this compulsive loop that you're in, like this compulsive pattern that you're locked in, that you're being manipulated by. So, I don't know. I'm not going to give much time or energy to, the strange compulsive comments that people, throw out there. I mean, beyond just popping in there and taking the 2 seconds and banning you from this channel, I mean, that's pretty straightforward. Makes it easier for me. It just filters out those that have no place on this channel. But yeah. But with that, all I can say is, as taking 3 days away from social media, which is not even very long, but I've kind of been pairing that with a lot of reflection and just meditation practice and, lots of good energy in my life. And went to a rave the other day to kind of celebrate my birthday with my partner. Yeah, good times. But all I can say is, I feel continuously this call to, oh, it's a gigantic spider. This call to kind of take a step back and learn to really deeply integrate, not just meditative practice, but why and how one can very much from the root up integrate something which penetrates compulsive behaviors. And again, we're all in 2026. Obviously, we're in 2026. All of us are products of very deeply woven compulsive programming. Like, most of you guys and girls, hopefully not, I don't know. Hopefully you guys are maybe a little bit more self-aware and, you're practicing something that is, complementary to a behavior that is not just mindlessly being programmed and manipulated by the environment around you or your phones or your technology. But sadly, most of us are, and it's only going to get more sophisticated. So anyways, all I'm simply saying is it's a good time to learn how to maybe practice something which can directly address compulsive projections or compulsive behaviors of just being like, and it's like, it is what it is. Like, we're in 2026, so it's a very intense time. Yeah. Rusty, saying something about Jesus. Okay, bud. Thank you. Thanks for whatever that was. Just a simple caveat. This is a channel typically that's oriented, that I create meditative sound journeys. I sort of do little busking sessions sometimes. I like to teach guitar, and I love just exploring these concepts. I really invite people that are sort of disciplined, devoted musicians or athletes or whatever to kind of just enter this portal if you desire. I'm a newer YouTuber, but I'm in this place where I'm trying to grow a very particular, very specific and particular sort of niche. So those that basically are locked in a sort of manipulated programming, like if you're just unconsciously scrolling through social media land and you can't practice self-awareness, like even off the get-go, this is not even remotely a channel for you. Like, I'd recommend just go find whatever you're seeking, maybe brain rot, AI slop, or whatever, I don't know. Honestly, I'm not a consumer of the YouTube sphere, but I would say simply, I'm going to make that very clear that the boundaries of this channel that I set is, obviously, if people are practicing and showing up compulsively, like they just can't practice basic self-awareness or emotional intelligence, not the channel for you. Just exit this channel right away, please. I mean, just save a little bit of time, but, value your own time. And also, this is not a channel that's desiring to enable or promote religious or political ideologies. So if that's just nothing against that, truthfully, it's not something I personally resonate with. But if it's something that, you're just desiring to kind of just preach or just, throw out there on the internet is not probably a place to sit there and argue about religious or political ideologies. But if that is you, if you're like, you know what, I want to talk about my religious or political ideologies, find another channel for that. There's channels that will welcome that, I'm sure, but that's not this channel. Anyways, just a nice little conclusive thought. Yeah. It has many sacred geometry symbols. Yeah, dog. Seeds of life. Yeah, this is just a shirt that was gifted to me from a good friend of mine. This is flower of life. I don't know, for some reason it's just a comfy shirt. It's like a festival jersey. It's devoted to a electronic music artist. He like released it, but I don't know. It's very comfortable. It's like a basketball jersey. But it happens to when I do Qigong, I notice it kind of like aligns with the sacred geometry. And that's something like I found, there was a friend of mine that I knew through this like kind of subculture that was, I'd say, more oriented to medicine community, that was really into sacred geometry. He would draw it every day for hours a day. He would just draw lots of seeds of life, flowers of life, and in all these different types of geometry, sacred geometry namely. And he would often explain to me the metaphysical, symbolism of, how each line and each dot that you can connect, and how each like symmetrical line and asymmetrical line has an energetic semblance. And part of it is like, of course, you have to like meditatively introduce intention to each line that you create, whether you're just creating like an asymmetrical line or a symmetrical line, and maybe you're creating dots within these. It just creates a deep level of intention and apparently sacred geometry when you're drawing it. I've never really drawn a whole lot of sacred geometry, but it has that very particular, almost like ancient significance of when you draw it, that each line, every dot, every piece of it, it's as you're drawing it is actually doing something on a spiritual level, or it's like a spiritual practice, which I found very interesting. Yeah. Would you be able to speak any language or communicate with any animal? I'd suppose communicate with any animal, man. I mean, you can learn any language. I don't know. Communicating with animals would be like, I'd say, a spiritual revelation. Like you'd become like some sort of seer or something. Yeah. So I wonder how many people are compulsive or watching this on the phone right now. YouTube is a manipulative program. Bro, well I feel pretty blessed to have a community. That's very much often, they're just people that are here to listen to me play guitar, because that's obviously what I primarily do. I'm playing guitar, I'm creating like a meditative safe space. That's kind of what I aim to do half the time, or 90% of the time. But the reality is, YouTube itself, obviously, it's a social media. I really like and revere YouTube. I respect it. It's got, problems here and there, but I personally find YouTube is a very different platform. But when we're addressing, just the issues that's going on in just 2026, like men and women, my generation, the younger generation, the older generation, so many of us, and it's not rocket science. It's not very it's very obvious that a lot of people, they're completely like trapped in compulsive programming. And of course, I'm a part of that generation. That's me included. Like, I'm just speaking from a dude that I myself, when I'm not really just like living in my highest expression of self, when I'm not, I don't know, just doing healthy, nourishing practices, when I'm not practicing immense amounts of self-awareness, or just, again, nurturing my higher self or my health and various rights, and we've all obviously been through those exact mechanisms. I notice where this programming, you go through social media, and then it interweaves into your phone addiction, and then that interweaves into hijacking, basically, the brain. Like, it's like your brain becomes hijacked. And the simplest, right, this is a very well-known phenomenon, is like your brain is basically being siphoned. If you think of it, it's like your brain is being siphoned dopaminergically. You think you have control, you think you're aware of how much energy you have or you don't have. You think that, but I need more energy. Why am I so exerted? Why am I so energetically, spiritually unmotivated and exerted? It's because you're being siphoned, of course. It's pretty clear cut. But again, the thing I'm trying to underline is a lot of people, not only they may not have an awareness of it, they may not even understand it, maybe they do to some degree, but they're just operating on a surface level program or they're numbing it all out. But the reality is also people don't realize that it's affecting every part of how they're being programmed. You're consuming social media in excess, or you're consuming, I don't know, all these different weird platforms and programs that have a role. They can play a role that plays something comprehensive, and who knows, but a lot of people, they're just, it's making them by nature show up compulsively. And even further, it's playing on their own compulsive psychological maladaptive programming. Like, this is the thing that sucks. Like, I'm just kind of saying this may resonate, this may not resonate, I don't know. But what I notice in my own reality, and I think this is how a lot of people inherently, like when you see people that are like doom scrolling, or their brain is locked in a sort of like weird compulsive, like they say the first thing that comes to mind. For example, because YouTube is here, and as we started the stream, there's a couple people that are literally just like saying outlandish stuff, right? Like, why would their executive function literally be like, let's say this random compulsive thought versus the vast array of things one could say? It's because they're operating from a place where they're basically playing on this weird sort of like maladaptive program where it's like, they're feeling insecure. Maybe they're feeling stressed. They're probably feeling stressed. They're probably feeling hyper aroused, overwhelmed, right? They're under stress. Their nervous system's under stress. Their psyche is under a place where it's operating out of some sort of maladaptive programming. What is the product of that? They suppress their needs. And then how do they get these needs met? They compulsively just act out in outlandish ways to try to literally just address the fact that their core needs are being neglected. Like, it's just not rocket science, really, when you think about it. It's like people have needs emotionally, energetically, spiritually, physically. And when people neglect their needs, they suppress the fact that their needs are needing to be met, even if this is just basic human survival needs. Their brain becomes this like very, I'd say, maladaptive and even destructive mechanism. Anyways, we're just reflecting aloud. We're kind of just reflecting and talking aloud. But the essence of what I want to sit with here, got some moss here. Yeah. The problem, people being compulsive. There was problems. Oh no, there's just the start of it. I wanted to lead that because it seems that when I host these meditative streams, at least a couple times, like I've done this a few times in the last like week or something, there's often this sort of interesting pattern where people will just show up and, just for whatever reason, it's obvious. They're just like, maybe they'll say some sort of slur or hate speech or, I don't know, derogatory thing. Just like, it's just like, it just churns out. And could just be new viewers that are just, trying to troll, trying to be funny, trying to, I don't know, make sense of their own weird projections. That's just how they cope. But I like to sort of throw out that thought out there, be like, it's like, it's like, that's not, that's not necessarily something I think they even realize they're doing. Like, it's like, oh, that's, compulsive behavior to, I don't know, say something about a person's sexuality or say something about this or that. Who knows? Like, it's a weird thing to do. I'll be honest. I couldn't tell you half the time why people, like, what is their logic in the vast array of how they could show up. Like, maybe they're just trying to be funny. I mean, it's low tier comedy, but it's like, the idea is a lot of people, I think they don't even realize that, like, they have free will, right? They have autonomy. They have the ability to actually, like, question the compulsive programming of wanting to project their own negativity on the things around them, right? They're allowed to show up in a different way. They're allowed to speak with intention, with clarity, out of sort of what I was talking about actually yesterday. They're allowed to basically speak outside of fear-based programming. Anyway, talking about bears. Nice. But thank you for being here. I don't know, we just randomly just like, yo, let's just pop on here and hold space for the YouTube sphere. Again, I've been on a social media break for the last 3 days, doing lots of meditation, having lots of healthy interactions, and just really just, taking a lot of time to basically reset my brain and my reality. And it's also strange because I turned 32 today. It's my birthday. But I'm kind of like low key. I'm not even on social media. My family's coming over to like do a dinner and just kind of do the thing, make a bunch of awesome food. Probably go to the gym, but it's kind of like I'm low key, more at peace with just being in a deep state of like reflection and catharsis, or just, I don't know, sort of like, yeah, I guess reflection, than trying to be on social media and interact. It's the first birthday actually ever that I've just decided, like, I'm not sure if I'm even going to use or even enable my social media at all, because I'm in the middle of a social media break. So it's kind of like I'll probably have some people reach out and say some nice words, via text. But the idea is that, yeah, I'm not sure where people's comments are at half the time. I'm not even. Very nice. Random comments are funny. Interesting. I'll say this, Mike. Wit, I don't know. We all have different dimensions of what we perceive funny. I'm a fan of actual like wit and clever wordplay. Like, I find, man, when I'm with my girlfriend, I'm half the time just like laughing my ass off, saying random shit. And she's also naturally very comedic, and we're just kind of like riffing off each other. And I'm just kind of, mostly just full of, oxytocin and serotonin and whatever. But I don't know, bro. I actually don't find a mass majority of how people try to be funny. I don't say it's not funny. I don't think it's, hey, if people are, whatever makes people laugh, I'm all for laughter and people having joy and this and that. But I don't know, bro. I kind of say point blank that if a lot of people, that's their idea of comedy, it's just like blurting out random stuff. And it's, even if it's like actually like compulsive and like actually is negative or even hateful in nature, that's not funny. That maybe they find it funny. That's cool. But I'll be honest, bro, they got to do better. Like, dead ass, like, I think they just got to like actually learn how to do comedy, actually learn how to, like, if a person says something that's witty or clever, that happens to be relevant, that weaves into it, that's actually comedic, bro, that's great. I'm all for it. But a lot of people, man, I don't know if they got the memo, but they're just they're kind of trash at comedy. Like, they gotta get better. They gotta, like, if they're gonna, go out of their way to practice comedy, right? If they're actually gonna like try to roast somebody or say some witty sort of outlandish stuff, at least to make it funny, at least be clever, at least be witty. That's all I'll say. Not to say that. Interesting. Great. Very nice. I don't know, Mike. I think you're new to this channel, 'cause we have a couple mics here. I don't think you're the regular Mike. You're definitely not. But for one, you're kind of playing the role, like you're kind of laying your cards in a way where you're probably someone that I'm just going to remove from this channel. Like, legit, just like, just remove your comment rights. You can hang out if you desire. You can listen, hold space for, being a perceiver. Do that with what you will, but I honestly probably don't want you to be a part of the audience. Like, I do that very frequently. If you're not familiar with that sort of action, is I do not desire to have, random people that don't really know how to sort of read the room or read social cues, like in the context of what this channel is trying to do in general. I mean, I mainly play music and etc., but I don't know what to tell you, bro. Like, to say someone has stoner logic or whatever, stoner logic. I get what you mean, bro. I haven't smoked weed in 11 years, bro. Like, come on, man. No shame. There's no shame in people that are stoners. But I think it says a lot more about your own ability to actually comprehend people's logic. Like, how deep have you gone to actually understand that, right? Play more Zeppelin. Yeah. Yeah. Dana, yeah, bro, that's dog. I mean, you look like you're literally, I mean, not to throw salt at you, but from your profile picture, you're clearly much younger. So that is what it is, brother. But yeah, I don't know. I would be more concerned with homies like yourself, dude, that's going around trying to basically be an internet psychologist. Because you do realize the first actual trait of how people, like just for your own knowledge, in case you're confused, Dana, you realize that narcissistic personality disorder, like what you're examining, sure, brother, people are, that's a very real thing. That's a thing that is present in our society. You know, I've met people, I've had to deal with people that are true narcissists, dog. And trust me, for one, there's a core mechanism you understand. If people genuinely come from an actual place of self-awareness, I mean, I don't know, you're new to this channel and you're probably a kid. You're probably like 15 or 18 years old. I don't even know, Dana. So I'd say for one, your brain's not even fully developed. So like beyond that's obvious in the sort of way you you engaged. But nah, bro, it's called boundaries. Like if you think that everybody that's trying to facilitate a channel with, with boundaries is a narcissist, then that, like, I hate to sort of match your level of trying to give unsolicited advice to people or strangers on the internet, but that's more problematic than not. You know, trying to be like, oh, so people want to set a firm boundary. You know, just because they're like, you know what, I'm facilitating a business, a YouTube channel, and they want to invite people that practice healthy emotional intelligence. That doesn't immediately make you some sort of narcissist, just to differentiate that for you, Dana, or anyone that's listening. But yeah, further, dog, I think people that try to, play the sort of internet psychologist and just diagnose people with some sort of disorder, like that's probably not that's probably not the way you want to show up, my man. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's pretty black and white, dog. Like, I swear, like, if people don't understand what actually it means to even be, like, narcissistic, like, what the spectrum or how society is, it's just like, I don't know. You have to understand, it's like there's a level of, like, if you're genuinely self-aware in the way you're showing up, like, you genuinely desire to be an observer of traits that might lean in some sort of pathological direction. Like, not to throw out unsolicited advice. Like, you're here to just chill and, I'm here to sort of host a space. But I think people don't realize, like, this is kind of what I was speaking of in the other day, actually, or yesterday, about understanding, like, moral frameworks, ethical frameworks. And it's relevant because obviously if you're a person that probably is exhibiting some sort of mental pathology. Wow, it's so silent out here. But yeah, if you're a person that's exhibiting some sort of pathology, man, I would say it often has probably to do with your level of, well, ethical awareness or awareness of what an ethical framework is. What are ethics? How are you showing up in such a way? Do you even have a moral or ethical framework? And the essence of how I think it's important to understand within that, not to go on a big ass tangent, is it's not about what you might think. It's not about you comparing yourself to other people, like, I'm better than this person, or this person's above that person because of this action or that action, or but I'm now morally aligned because I did this action. Like, for example, Dana being like, man, this individual, say it's like just a random person on the internet, is suddenly, to his opinion, to his perception, he's like, but this is a textbook severely narcissistic person. He might think in his mind, okay, now I am in a morally, I would say, a morally aligned way to express that, to communicate. In his mind, he might believe that was the right thing to do, right? He might believe that, but the right thing to do is to call out random strangers on the internet and tell them they have a pathological disorder because he thinks that's the right thing to do, right? That doesn't suddenly actually, in the larger context, make, well, him a better person or actually regulate a healthy sort of moral compass or framework. It has nothing to do with it. There's larger things that operate, and more has to do with, if Dana goes and flips off his phone and he goes and sits in his room alone and he starts to stir up thoughts and has a moment of self-reflection, or he starts to think about the variables in his life, and he starts to sort of like conjure up thought streams that suddenly are very malicious, or I'm not saying you would, but if he suddenly behind closed doors is operating out of integrity, is operating out of morality, it doesn't matter how he perceives his actions. It's the actual actions in their fullest embodiment that reflect on who you are, right? So I think it's unfortunate, because it's kind of what I was talking about yesterday. It's like, I think people have a very strange perception of how important how you show up when no one is trying to validate or almost like give you praise or tell you, but you're such a this or that, or but you're doing this for the greater this or that. It's like, it's really about how are you showing up when no one is validating you? How are you showing up when it's just you? It is just you alone, trying to resolve the dimensions of your own morality and the things around you. Not when there's people there trying to go on these little mental gymnastics. I don't know. This is all just random as fuck, but I found it interesting, though. Wicked. I like the Kinks, but went to the catalog. Interesting. I'm assuming that's an album or something. Nice. Dog, I don't even know. 3% of the population is a hell of a lot of people. Yeah, well, dude, that's the thing. I mean, let's be very forthcoming. Is 3% of the people that are probably like, the dark triad or the pathologically ill. That is definitely a mass array. Oh, there's people wandering around out of my sight. Very nice. But like it is important, I'll say very simply, to equip yourself with the awareness that there are pathologically ill people in this world. Like you're not doing yourself any favors to not face that truth. Like there are narcissistic people, there are manipulators, there are, sociopathic, psychopathic, predatory people out there. Like that's the reality. They exist, right? And I think it's very important to acknowledge that, but also not do sort of what Dana, not to throw salt at Dana again, or Dana, I guess that's how it's pronounced, but if you're showing up, we are throwing around those words, like you don't understand what they actually are, how they actually show up in the real world. Like, the dude's like a young kid, clearly. Like, looking at his profile, the dude looked like he was like 15 years old or something. Who knows? Or 18, I don't know. Maybe who knows? But if you're like going around assuming everyone's narcissists, everyone's psychopaths, everyone's this, that, the other, and you have no actual grounds of understanding how to differentiate, like you even don't know how to show up in an emotionally intelligent way to deal with, address, and healthily, I would say, discern and, show up in the real world and basically hold a healthy, emotionally intelligent stance on those that are pathologically ill, you're doing a disservice to yourself and to the people around you at large. So I think all I'll simply say is, it is important to acknowledge that there are people that are pathologically ill, like psychologically, and etc. And 3%, that is what it is. But I think it's more important also to understand in real time what is the most appropriate way to deal with these things. Like, understand what is your role within, actually, especially as a man, as a human being, to engage or understand what these people look like or don't. Because if you're just assuming that everyone is some pathologically ill person, you're probably pathologically ill. No, not to pass judgment, but the reality is, like, You know, it's kind of like you kind of like diffuse your um own discernment, right? Your own ability to actually discern and actually have weight behind the words and the judgments or just the discernments that you have. And I think that's very important, like to have authority basically behind your word. Like, are you speaking with intention? Like, this kind of comes all back full circle to what I was talking about of people showing it compulsively, you know, and why maybe having a meditative state or addressing compulsive behavior is healthy. It's like, if you don't have weight behind your discernment, like if you're like the homie Dana, that's just like, not to throw any salt at him again, he's just a dude, but you know, if you're just going around calling people narcissists, or oh man, but this person is this kind of psychological pathology and whatever, and you don't even understand what that is, you yourself are actually, your powers of discernment, your facilities of discernment are shaky. They're not reliable to yourself and to another. And I think that's obviously like a greater level of damagement, or a greater level of being damaged. That requires attention, where it's like your words, if they don't actually have validity, if you don't even understand how to discern, you know, a person that has some level of moral integrity versus a not, then that is a very dangerous thing that you obviously need to fine tune, I would say. Anyways, I don't know. That was all just some nice words. Some nice verbiage or whatever I don't know. Talking for 20 minutes, now hasn't said anything. Very nice. This is Guy on Shrooms. He's stuck in the past 20 minutes ago. Bro, this is a live stream. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you guys are new to how this works. Not just like the live streaming thing. Like, do what you will with that. But when a person is monologuing or is like, you know, I'm surprised more people aren't aware with this kind of realm of thought. Like, you're allowed to unpackage things, right? Like, this is maybe, I just want to put that in a very clear message, because, you know, this is something that I learned when I was learn to communicate, you know, learn to philosophize for the sake of YouTube and whatever, and just, you know, for my own life, is you realize that you are allowed to go deeper within your thoughts. Like, if you desire to, you can, in fact, have a healthy, I would say, a healthy unraveling of self-reflection related to a singular thought. Like, I don't know how that's a foreign entity. If it is, I don't know. But you do realize that people are allowed to have a deeper layer of thought relating to things. Like, people can reflect and philosophize and psychoanalyze, as you should to yourself. That's literally the whole point of what I'm doing here, is showing you that you yourself, if you're foreign to that, you know, hope you learn to empower your voice. But it's a healthy practice. Very few healthier practices to sit there, ideally alone, like not on a live stream. But you're allowed to sit there and honor your voice. You're allowed to communicate, psychoanalyze, philosophize. These are healthy things to do. These are healthy skills. It's communication at the heart of it. But all I'm trying to sort of do is kind of show in real time how these thoughts unravel. But it's neither here nor there. I don't know. It's up to you to take that as you desire. Handstand push-ups, my friend. Handstand push-ups. That's an excellent idea. I've been kind of just holding off. I mean, I'm going to go do some strength training later today. Kind of just do till destruction. But yeah, it's allowed, but it can turn out to be just word salad. Of course it can be. Of course it can be. I'm not sure where exactly. Yeah, definitely not on shrooms, but I'll take that as a compliment. Yeah, as Phoenix said, welcome, Phoenix. Appreciate your presence. I don't do any substances or psychedelics, particularly on these streams. I mean, I do psychedelics in my free time, and I don't touch a phone with a 10-foot pole. But yeah, you can confidently be assured that I don't do any psychedelics. I'm not under the influence of anything when I'm on these streams. That's just kind of a rule of thumb. It's just something I'm not desiring to do. Just sober. Wow. Seems like there's a family just chilling in the forest. Damn, you must be in the next level shrooms. I want to see it. I mean, sure, bro. I'm curious, are you on shrooms with that? Yeah, so that. It's a lobby. You can turn out to be a what's up with that. Good ride. Yeah. I always find it like, like I've been sort of embodying this last few streams when I'm chilling in the forest. And even just yesterday when I was doing my live stream where I was like doing meditative guitar. The contrast, the dichotomy, if you will, of meditating, like entering like a genuine state of complete no mind. Just giving yourself permission, basically, just to go blank, be outside of time, like acknowledging maybe time is not real and let yourself kind of slip out of your identity of self while you're on a live stream where you're literally just like, you're in this weird sort of egoic dance, if you will. It's very powerful. Like, I find I'm continuously intrigued by. I mean, we're also obviously just chilling, in this forest. This is kind of the energy we're setting here. For whatever reason, people just seem to enjoy this. I don't know, maybe it's just like the mental sort of picture of being like, this is a human being across another part of the world just chilling in the forest meditating. This is my YouTube thing. This is the livelihood I'm building. But in essence, yeah, looks like you can kill the predator. Nice. Okay. I guess that's a way of saying I have a good physique. Climb a tree is a better idea. Yeah. I could probably climb this tree. That might be the move. Yeah. But he's saying, yeah, it must be next level on shrooms. I think someone, yeah, bro, I'm pretty similar. Unless I'm on like a high dose of shrooms, which the strain of shrooms that I got recently called Enigma is it's a very high concentrated psilocybin. But I don't know, bro. I think a lot of it has to do with, I don't know, what I do naturally in my everyday life is it elicits altered states. I spend a lot of time writing music, entering sound portals, philosophizing. And I've done lots of shrooms throughout my life, but the reality is when I'm on shrooms, unless I'm on like a big dose, I kind of just become a little bit more unfiltered and definitely, like, I could say increasingly more, I would say, organically aligned with chaos. So you could see, like, if I were on shrooms per se, like, even I did shrooms maybe a couple weeks ago. It's been a while since I've done shrooms, really. I really just begin to kind of just like chain together various very beautiful thoughts. Like, it's almost like, shrooms. Your mind is kind of suppressing amygdala activity. So you begin to sort of see the world in a very clear-cut way beyond fear, which is obviously something you can just do naturally. Meditation helps kind of facilitate that. But it's like if you're looking at your reality, and say for a lot of us, our world has been consumed by fear, right? You've been suppressing fear-based programming. Your psyche has been trying to resolve fear-based programming. When you're on shrooms, your brain is literally just removing a bit of that filter, suppressing your amygdala, and it's addressing all these things that your brain was basically too afraid to sit with. And guess what? Makes sense. Your brain then becomes more empowered if you sit with that. If you're like embracing it, you're like, you know what? I'm going to sit with this psychological dysfunction that might have been present or unraveling, or I'm going to sit with my emotions maybe that I've been suppressing, or whatever's going on. Your brain basically just has this full level of connectivity where it sees things for what they actually are, beyond fear. So, yeah, I don't know. But that being said, I've always felt like, since I was rather young, like 15 or 16 when I started doing shrooms, shrooms seem to be a compound that's very like naturally complementary to the way my mind works. I'm also an artist. Like I'm a full-time performance artist, and I do lots of things that I think very beautifully complement that kind of altered state. Like it's almost like, in the simplest right, a lot of what I do explores these creative, intuitive realms. Like just, it's what I fill my entire day with most of the time. So when I'm on shrooms, it's just allowing me to access those even more naturally. It's like my mind is basically learning to, recruit creative energy, which is chaos energy. Psilocybin helps make your connectivity even more aligned with creative energy, or just like a level of like interwoven chaos. Because that's the beauty, is like chaos is, this is the core revelation that often immediately flows through on shrooms, is the universe is chaos, right? Creative energy is chaos. We are a part of the chaos of nature. Like nature is chaos. The universe and nature, it's all chaos, right? Chaos is not inherently a bad thing. It's not. When you embrace it, like when you realize how to dance with the chaos, and you're like, I am chaos, the universe and the larger construct is built out of chaos, and you're not resisting the chaos, that is when you become more harmoniously aligned with the universe. It's only when we as human beings are trying to resist the chaos, the natural chaos that we are, that is in nature, that's in the woven, cosmos. When we're trying to resist that, we're like, no, we're humans, we're part of society, we're technology, we're this, that. When we don't realize that we're allowed to embrace chaos, that is often why we are suffering, right? When we're dishonoring the very like larger flow that wants to flow with us. The universe is dancing and buzzing and spiraling around in this beautiful chaotic manner. And if we're not realizing that we're allowed to align ourselves with that, be empowered by that, plunge into that, if we are resisting that fundamental layer of chaos, often we suffer, right? And I think shrooms is a very beautiful embodiment of that. It just teaches us to see that, we are chaos. Why resist the chaos? Surrender to the cosmic flow of the chaos. And then you become this beautiful conduit of ever emerging creative energy that wants to be chaotic. It wants to evolve. And, when you look at nature, like nature all around you, it's just this pure product of just endless streams of pure chaotic energy that just went in many different directions and continues. Yeah. Are you some kind of spiritual guru? Nah, bro. I do not consider myself that at all. If anyone tells you, they're like, "Hello, friend. I am a spiritual guru. Welcome to my channel." I would probably try to stay away from that person. Like I'd probably go in the other direction and be like, I don't know about this guy. I mean, there are real spiritual gurus out there probably, but they're probably not on a YouTube live stream. They're probably not advertising it. They're probably not identifying with it or even beginning to. Um, nah, man, I'm just a dude that plays a lot of guitar. I create sound journeys. I've done lots of psychedelics, and I love health. And guess what? When you do a lot of those things, or when you go on a path that is authentically aligned with yourself, you do actually naturally desire to understand something that is aligned with spirituality. Like, you genuinely naturally, like, this is the thing that's really blown my mind for many years, and it may make sense in the context that I'm painting, is I never desired, I'm just tripping on words. I never desired to be spiritual. Like, truly, like, for many years, it was never a thing that I ever desired. Didn't see it desirable. Never really was attracted to it. And again, like maybe many of you, I thought a lot of people who were spiritual, that were trying to be spiritual, it was sort of maybe a pretentious, performative pretension. Like, I was like, that's kind of weird. Like, why is this, that, the other? And hell, I remember before I even did any psychedelics ever, I actually thought philosophy and philosophers were pretentious. Like, I thought it was a strange thing. I was like 14 years old, and I was like, why are these, these ancient figures saying all these things that it's like they're talking down to me? And it wasn't until I did LSD for the first time did I actually, for whatever reason, have a very distinct breakthrough in my own psyche and my own philosophical context. And I basically started studying philosophy and falling in love with philosophy, where I realized, I was like, wait a second, how did I perceive it this way? Like, there's a greater way to understand this. There's a deeper way to understand that these philosophers weren't trying to talk down on anybody. They weren't trying to preach. They weren't trying to be like, but this is great, powerful wisdom. No, they were trying to plant seeds. They were hoping to reach future generations with a lifetime of their own philosophical wisdom, not saying that this is the answer, but hoping that their ancestors would find this answer, would maybe one day contemplate their entire lives, philosophizing, unraveling these truths to maybe one day pass that on to the future generations and ancestors of their ancestors or their lineage. And one day maybe begin to understand what truth is. It was never about ego. And yeah, long story short, I never desired to be spiritual or even practice anything of spirituality. Hell, for many years, yeah, it felt like people that tried to do that, identify spirituality. And that's a lot. Spiritual ego is a massive problem in a lot of society and communities. But nah, man, then I hit a point in my life where I just began to just play lots of music. I began to just honor my health. I began to invite lots of love into my life, have romantic partners that aligned with myself emotionally, spiritually. I began to just be happier and more at peace with my reality, and just invite things that nourished me, and basically just play lots of guitar. Play lots of guitar and create elaborate orchestrations and dance a lot. And guess what? Over the years of doing that, for whatever reason, I started to see these very bizarre experiences in my life that I couldn't really explain in simple ways. Like, I couldn't understand them with the sort of philosophical bends that I already had. I'd be like, how are metaphysical anomalies, if you will, or things that I would maybe identify as quantum shifts, people seemingly impossibly entering your life at the right time, or moments of clarity and shifts that seem to transcend space and time. Very poetic, it sounds, maybe, but this occurred a lot several years back. It was like there was like pivotal moments where I began to see anomalies basically split open in front of my eyes, and that's when I actually began to for whatever reason, start to actually feel something that aligned with the spiritual path. Like, it wasn't me being like, I want to be this, so now I am, here we are, I'm gonna talk, walk, dress. Nah, man, I just pulled those threads of happiness and authenticity, and over several years, I began to feel into something different. Like, my body, it started to feel, sensations of energy. I also started to do a lot of qigong and, desire to honor meditative practices. And I was training various movement disciplines and dancing a lot and accessing a lot of music writing, songwriting portals for the first time ever. Just a lot of things that were just naturally aligned with my path. And over time, I began to feel into something that I couldn't really explain, that then to this day really does feel like some level of clarity, some level of spiritual clarity. And again, I think spirituality is a very paradoxical thing often. Like a lot of people, if you see someone that's like, they're like, I am therefore some sort of entity of this, again, I would powerfully challenge that interjection. Like I would desire to be like, spirituality in its most purest embodiment seems to be very paradoxical. Like in the simplest right, most people, you're like, oh, but that person is spiritual, but that person's probably not spiritual, but that person is, but that person's here on this journey. Oh, but that person, clearly they're leading with this level, so they must be so spiritual, right? It's often not that way. It doesn't operate in a very one-dimensional model. I'll say that much. And I realized that over years. It's like some people that you think might be the most spiritual, or they even might think in their mind they're the most spiritual or moral or this and that. You actually could see that on a deeper level, they could be so disjointed and so paradoxically removed from that path that it's harrowing. And that's kind of the interesting complex that I want to introduce, is like, you never really know. Like you have to sort of realize that a lot of things are sort of a very exquisite paradox, as I like to say. And that's just the way things are often. Wow. I don't know what to tell you, dog. We've got some interesting unhinged energy showing up today. Like, I don't know what to say. And I'll kind of take it with a grain of salt that, you know, if you have a guy chilling playing guitar, kind of just like talking about music, you know, the algorithm, maybe it's just like that's what it invites. It invites people that are devoted musicians and philosophers and free thinkers. But if you have a guy just chilling in a forest, you know, talking about meditation or philosophies or whatever, it seems that seems to, more than not often, not all cases, that invites a lot of people that seem they're really trying to resolve that very mechanism. And again, I'll take that as a high honor, that many people, let's be real here, this all circles back to what I've been saying a handful of times, is people in 2026 are greatly suffering from deeply compulsive programming. Like they just are. It's just the product of what's going on, you know, with these weird waves of smartphones indoctrinating themselves the last multiple generations, with AI getting ever more sophisticated. People are becoming more and more manipulated by compulsive programming. They don't have self-awareness. They're like just they're just kind of compulsively projecting nonsense at a rapid rate. It just seems to be, again, I don't know the greater totality of humans, but what I'm saying is that tells me that it is more important than ever to hold space for conversations about things like meditation. Like if I'm in a stance where I'm like, oh word, I've been seeing breakthroughs in my reality the last 10 days from doing meditation for at least an hour every single day to literally directly address compulsive programming. Like I've been stepping away from social media for the last 3 days and beyond, and this tells me that people unconsciously need to hear these things, whether it's making people show up and reveal that, yes, I do have compulsive behaviors and programs that I'm trying to resolve. It's just like that's kind of the core mechanism, is like people need to realize that there's more beyond the compulsive, I'm just tripping on words, beyond the compulsive programming that they're locked in. And, you know, it is what it is. Interesting. Please go on his channel. The instruments he plays, guitar. Yeah, synthesizer, bongos. Yes, it's like, yeah, miniature things like miniature djembe. Nice, Jim. I don't know what to tell you, Jim. That's all. That seems like a you problem, dog. Like I don't know. I always find it fascinating. Like a guy talks about meditation. He's just like, hey, let's not be manipulated by our phones and the programming around us. You know, maybe let's go into nature and meditate and actually be free, autonomous beings, live our highest reality. Like, let's actually do that. Suddenly they're just like, oh, damn, bro, this guy's a hippie. Like, this guy, man, he's just an egregious this, that, or it's just like, bro, is that really? Like, I don't know. I remember addressing this the other day. I was like, dog, I'm definitely not a hippie by any, like, if you knew me in the real world, I have many different facets of how I express myself. But this is the deeper thing that I just want to talk about. And I kind of said this the exact same way 2 days ago. What part of yourself isn't giving yourself permission to actually honor the things you might associate with being a hippie? Like, that's the greater thought, bro, that I think really sucks. Like, if you're suppressing these parts of yourself, like, you see a person that actually is accessing some sort of happiness, right? Like a genuine level of happiness. You're like, you know what? They're meditating. They're doing things that are healthy for their brain. They're being a free thinker. Holy shit. You know, they're speaking their truth or they're philosophizing, whatever it is, right? If you immediately default, like, oh man, that guy's a hippie. Let's throw a stereotype on that. Let's like separate ourselves from that. Let's try to judge that part of yourself. You're just judging that part of yourself. All that says to me is you haven't given yourself permission just to be who you are. You've literally locked off a part of yourself. That's probably sucks. Like, that sucks, bro. That you maybe just, I don't know, maybe need to sit in the forest and meditate and reflect on who the fuck you are. But I'm just saying is if people are throwing out, calling people a hippie, like that's a bad thing, that just tells me that you've locked off a part of yourself. Like, you literally are suppressing and demonizing the part of yourself that maybe just wants to slow down, literally just wants to meditate, literally just wants to smile and laugh and actually embrace love in your life, right? That's not a great thing to do. You know, if you're in reality, you're just like, man, like, let's just lock off, let's suppress or push away a part of ourself that's gonna, you know, just label and demonize a person for being a hippie. Like, bro, again, I want to make this pretty clear cut. Just for your own picture, you know, if the dude's here, I banned his comment rights, so he's probably gone. But it's like, I live in many different dimensions. I actually pride myself in challenging people's models and stereotypes. Like, I'm a freaking, I go to raves, I'm a tutter, I'm a dancer, I'm also an athlete. I've done martial arts for many years. I'm a punk rocker, I'm a psychedelic rocker. Like, I have so many different avenues of how I express myself. Yes, I love to romanticize things like Zen philosophy. Yes, I honor meditative portals. These are nourishing, these are healthy practices. Honestly, bro, I've never even in my life seen being a hippie as a bad thing. But again, if you're going to lock in a stereotype of a person that's practicing meditation or, I don't know, practicing yoga or something and actually is attaining some sort of fulfillment and happiness in life, that says a lot about you. And maybe it's time to let go of that, dog. Maybe it's time to realize that you're allowed to be happy. You know, you're allowed to identify with that part of yourself that you're suppressing, that you act like you have to separate from yourself. Go and meditate, sit in a forest, you know, embrace the parts of yourself that you think you want to stereotype as a hippie. You know, what a sad reality when you can't embrace just being yourself. Like, that's the deeper sort of message that I want to convey is, and it's the same message I said a couple days ago, like, what a bizarre reality when there are people that are showing up, that are throwing stereotypes left, right, and center about people just because they haven't come to grips with who they are, because they haven't given themselves permission just to be themselves. So that's a core epicenter of what I do in this channel in general. Like, I play music, I talk about this, that, the other thing, but friends, it's okay to be yourself. Like, you probably every part of your reality is conspiring to just authentically be. You know, be yourself. Don't suppress parts of who you are. You know, if you sat with any sort of psychedelic medicine or walked any thread that is expressing your higher path, you'll realize that you're not meant to be a part of this world to suppress yourself, right? To judge yourself, to lock away these parts of yourself and demonize these parts of yourself. You're meant to be all of you. You're meant to just be who you are. Just express your authentic self. So I find it interesting. I mean, I still have a long way to go into just being, you know, the full expression of myself. You know, I still have a lot of life to live, but I feel blessed. Like, all I'll say on a concluding thought of that is I feel blessed. And this is maybe what you might not realize is on the other side. I mean, I'm just riffing here, but when you actually are giving yourself permission to be your authentic self, you attract other people that are also being their authentic self. You attract other people, whether we're talking about a YouTube community, whether we're talking about in the real world, your romantic partnerships. Hell, I'll be as apt to say one of the core reasons why a lot of people are suffering is because they're suppressing their authentic self. You know, why we look at people in this modern day and age, we're suffering, we're struggling to find connection, right? Maybe you're struggling and suffering to find a person in this life who you resonate with authentically, who you spiritually connect with, who you emotionally connect with. You know, maybe you're scrolling through social media land, you're doom scrolling, you're compulsively locked in a program because you just simply seek connection. You think you seek some sort of validative, dopaminergic thing, but what you really seek is probably an emotional and spiritual connection with your fellow human being. But how can they receive you if you're not authentically just being yourself, if you're suppressing who you really desire to be? I don't know. This is me, I guess, just basically just speaking a lot, philosophizing. But reality is, this all makes sense. If you could really think about it. Like, if you're demonizing other people for this and the other, that's just saying a lot about what you've been suppressing in yourself. And where there's a lot of people that are like really suffering, I would say, with confidence, because they seek connection. They're addicted to social media. Maybe they're addicted to dating apps, or they're addicted to XYZ dopaminergic loop, where they just seek connection. They seek community. They seek a kindred level of resonance. How do you find that? You resonate by being authentic. You attract people who are attracted to your authenticity. You know, if you're sitting here demonizing other people and throwing out labels and like, but this person's this and that, and you're splitting yourself off from other people and you're too afraid to just be who you are, to say your authentic truth, you're basically splitting yourself off from finding that which you seek. You're paradoxically, you're dimming your own ability to resonate with people that you desire to resonate with. And then full circle, here you are addicted to social media or addicted to, who knows, XYZ dopaminergic loop, trying to fill this void with compulsion. Welcome to 2026. And it's sad. But again, the answer is you got to be your authentic self. You got to show up. You know, you got to realize that you seek something deeper and you deserve something deeper. You deserve to show up as the most authentic, beautiful, empowered version of yourself. You know, as a man, as a woman, whomever you are, that is how you resonate with the people of that nature. You just authentically show up as who you are. Anyway, food for thought. I don't know. It's kind of going on some sort of motivational speech, but you know, it is what it is. We need a program in Canada to help artists send and fund musicians, I imagine you say, or send. Yeah, you're not wrong, View Bay. I mean, that being said, I mean, I don't know. I empathize. I am, of course, a musician myself, a devoted musician of most of my life. I don't know. I'll be honest. As much as you're right, especially in 2026, we got garbage AI slop, you know, music prompt creations, and, you know, we're in an interesting time. We're in a unique time. I'm a firm advocate of people basically operating on delayed gratification, like basically realizing that the journey, the struggle, and the strife is the path. I don't think people should have things handed to them. You know, I think if people have things handed to them, they never really fulfill their fullest potential. Not to say, I mean, I agree. There should be more like maybe government grants and community programs and support, beautiful sort of like communities for musicians as a whole. I mean, that's super valid. But I'm able to be a musician for my entire life, bro, and or most of my life, not my entire life. But I've come to realize that I don't know. I don't think I would desire things to be any other way. In truth, I think being a musician is just about creating. You're just creating for the sake of joy. We live in a very interesting society that's materialistically woven where there's a music industry, where people think they need to, you know, bridge that world with their livelihood. And many rights, you deserve to make money off your music, sure. But how you do that should not be some sort of like creative industry, um, I don't know, indoctrination. I think a lot of it is basically we've become diluted by what the music industry is presenting in front of our eyes versus what it actually means to live the life as a musician, just to live the path that you are literally weaving. I mean, this is, I'll be honest, that exact um, mechanism is something I've been literally reflecting on the last like 15 years of my life. I had pivotal moments where I was just like looking at my life and being like, and these were revelations actually, where I was like, nobody can tell me, nobody should be able to tell me what my musical journey looks like. Like if you're looking at it and you're looking at all the music industry and like, oh man, but I should have joined a band, or why is my band not succeeding, or why am I touring this or doing that, or why am I not getting this and getting this paycheck and getting signed to this thing and this, that, the other. Like if you're trying to define your own musical journey by someone else's journey, that's not your journey. You don't even, like if you're carving a path that no one else has walked, which is what you should be desiring to do, then there is no reference point. You're walking and the path is appearing as you're walking. And I think that's very deeply relevant as a musician. I've realized it over the years. It's like, if you're too busy trying to compare yourself to what you think you should be in this world, especially as an artist, you're like, but I need to be here. But I'm behind here, but I'm ahead of here, not here, but this person's doing this and that, this, the other. You create the path. You're carving the path. It's your path. It's unique. You've never been, alive, embodying the expression that you're expressing in the history of existence. It's all being formulated right now. And I think it's an important thing to acknowledge. Because, I think many people, we get lost in this idea that we're surrounded and drowning in all these perceptions of like, but this person, that, and this industry, and this here, this. It's like you need to realize that your path is yours. It's yours. It's unique. You can do it any way you desire, and you should desire to do it any way that you desire. So, I don't know, to think that, the music industry owes you anything, or I don't know, maybe the government should grant you this and you should make this amount of money, and sure, I mean, shit, yeah, like, I think we should support local musicians as much as humanly possible. But let's be real here. In the greater philosophical context, you are the one that's carving your path. And as a musician, all you should be focusing on is how much fun you're having, how much music you're making that is of value. Basically just trying to become a better musician, trying to just create music for the sake of pure joy. Do that frequently, consistently, and you will see the path slowly but consistently begin to unravel in front of you, I would say. Yeah, I don't do AI on my channel. I'm glad Rye doesn't do as well. I probably wouldn't be here. Facts. Yeah, no, I would not. I have deep beliefs held against AI, and anything even like touching with a 10-foot pole, like I find it greatly disappointing when I meet people that are just like, it's almost like it says, because not to like, again, people are free entities. People have free will. They're going to make bad decisions. That's just human beings for you. But it says a lot about a person's character. Like a lot. Especially if you're going to say do something like Suno or whatever those weird platforms where you're creating music. It's like that's pretty crazy. but it says a lot about your perception of reality and your almost like your philosophical and spiritual lens if on how the stance you hold on AI. Again, people will do it for different reasons. I don't know. It's we're in a very unique time. Honestly, I I'm a firm believer, just in a simple thought that I've been sitting with is I'm a firm believer that we're in a very unique and awkward and really strange gray area right now. Artificial intelligence is going to get to a point where it's going to become so advanced and sophisticated and ingrained in our society where the novelty factor, the monetary sort of value, we're in a basically like a weird sort of like what's the word? There's basically we're in a very unique gray area, as I kind of underlined. I'm a firm believer that once we get past that gray area, like once basically AI hits a certain point in its evolution, it's not going to be novel anymore. It's not going to be, something that's unique, and it's not going to be in that gray area. And basically, a lot of these people that have been trying to manipulate the system, so to speak, or, trying to basically hijack and destroy their own developmental center in some regard, for some sort of gratification, they're going to realize that that's going to kind of not exist anymore. Like, I have a strong feeling that once technology like hits this weird apex where AI is no longer this novel sort of fresh creation that has all these kind of stipulations and unbounded perimeters, once it becomes like a black and white thing, it's like, oh, here is AI. It's on a high level of anyone can do it at the drop of a hat. The novelty factor is basically going to be gone. And like people, that are trying to run businesses and trick the system, it's going to be they're basically going to realize that they are now obsolete. Like the gray area and the mechanism that they might have thought that they can utilize to manipulate the system is going to basically become obsolete. Like this happens all the time. I don't know. I don't know how the future is going to unravel. It could go in a billion different directions. But not only do I believe that, obviously, on a fundamental level, that AI is like very deeply problematic, like to your brain, to many reasons. Like there's just many things I'm choosing consciously to be on the opposite side of AI. Like, and I will die on that hill, as they would say. But I'm actually a firm believer that AI is going to become obsolete, at least the way that people are trying to monetize it. Like it's going to become obsolete. It's not going to be like it's going to spiral into a point where when everyone can do everything, there's no novelty factor to it. Like when everyone at the click of a button can create this novelty, then suddenly, it's like if everything is special, nothing is special. So it's gonna kind of do this weird little loop, I feel. But I don't know. Why, thank you. I'm just chilling. Again, I'm in a weird place right now. I mean, not actually, but the reality is, I'm on a social media break and I'm basically on a neurological reset. That's kind of what's happening, which I do frequently. But I mean, in the deepest sense, I've been doing meditation for an hour a day the last 10 days, really leaning into doing running consistently, not using social media, really just like rewiring my brain the most immediate way. And let's be real here. When you do that, there's a lot of things that arise. Like, I find it very interesting. I mean, the simplest way, all I'm simply saying is when you step away from social media, I mean, even it's even strange doing YouTube live streams in a sense where it's like, imagine, I mean, I take breaks, long breaks from doing YouTube stuff, but it's bizarre what the brain surfaces very naturally when you're not regularly numbing the mind with social media. When you're not regularly just distracting the mind more so with social media. It's interesting how the brain, it just naturally, it surfaces a lot. And then add an hour of meditation every day where you're sitting in pure stillness and pure no mind for like an hour in the day, then your brain is like constantly, you're realizing that, there's been a lot that I've been needing to sit with. And on the other side of that is profound discomfort, often. But it's great. DMT or shrooms, salvia. You listen to Pink Floyd and Tool. Invariably, I don't actually. Yeah. I mean, I respect those as artists, but I don't listen to either of those actually. Maju, thank you for listening. DMT or shrooms? Definitely shrooms. I think is, in my experience, one of the most powerful and healthy compounds that humans have ever experienced. However, I'm a fan of Changa. So, you know, smokable ayahuasca it's called, or it's DMT that's paired with an MAOI. I'm not an advocate of freebase DMT. Never tried it. Not sure if I ever will. But I'd say they're very incomparable. I think shrooms is literally medicine to all of humanity. So I don't know. I hold it on to a high regard, but I think DMT is also an extraordinary medicine that is extremely powerful, particularly Changa, and of course ayahuasca and all the little expressions of DMT. So I don't know. They're both important, bro. I'm not sure if I would put one above the other, but they both have extremely powerful applications. Yeah, I don't know. Try them. Yeah. No, I mean, I have tried them all, yeah. Not freebase DMT, but I have no. I would love to do 5-MeO DMT and ayahuasca and pretty much every expression of DMT. But freebase DMT, I don't think is. I might try it, but I don't think it's a very healthy application of, dimethyltryptamine. Like, I just don't think it is. But it is what it is, Shrooms, I've definitely tried. I've only done salvia for a while. No shrooms DMT. Not sure if I would recommend. Interesting. I've only done salvia. Wow. I don't know. I've done salvia once when I was in high school. Very low X, a very low dose. It's pretty strange. Very subtle though. I didn't desire to go very deep in salvia because I've heard of it's very dangerous. And I don't know. I would not recommend salvia, honestly, to anybody. Just really wouldn't. It's intriguing. It's an intriguing compound. I mean, salvia seems incredible. I'll be honest. Like, I think it's one of the most, like, the Native Americans and the ancient natives, like a lot of the native tribes use salvia in a medicinal context. And I'm a firm believer that it can be used in that way. But also, I think people, if they're just, going to be like, I'm going to buy, 300X or whatever X salvia and then smoke it out of a bong and try to elicit some sort of psychedelic experience, you're probably not going to get something that you desired. You probably don't even know what you're signing up for, and it's probably going to be very unpleasant. Not like unpleasant, like discomfort or just like, whoa, that was spiritually challenging. Nah, it's probably going to probably damage your brain a little bit. I mean, I don't know. I've only read about salvia experiences, but it literally seems like the essence of what salvia can facilitate is, people report becoming inanimate objects and living multiple lifetimes. And it's not like it's like you just, I don't know. It doesn't seem like a good idea, I would say. Hey, welcome, Joku. Welcome back. I need to hear this. I know this. Yeah, isn't shrooms meant to protect itself from being eaten by animals? Yeah, that's apparently why why psilocybin does its thing. It's supposed to be a defense mechanism. Where it's like, humans, we're immune to the defense mechanism, but all other animals, it's like, it's toxic to them. But then humans can consume it, and then it makes us trip out. So great. So great. Man, but I don't know. So the homie's asking, why does a medicine have to change your visual perspective? I mean, I don't know. That's the thing I've never really thought about a whole lot. I think if I were to really unpackage, why does like a medicine, like a psychedelic, often alter your visual or your auto, yeah, your auto, alter your yeah, your visual perception. The word I was thinking of kind of just lost. I just lost. But yeah, I would say it has a lot to do probably with the certain part of the mind that you are, that you're circulating. I don't know. I mean, I'll be honest. I often don't experience visual distortions or visual hallucinations. Like I just don't. Um, I have on high doses. Like this is the funny thing is like in the nature of like, yeah, visual distortions or, altercations in visual perception. I'll be honest, most times it's very subtle, if not present at all. Um, Now there's exceptions. If you enter high states, for me, this is the interesting thing I notice about um, visual, you know, visuals, I guess we'll say. For me, the most intense visual dimensions usually they interweave. Like this is what I've noticed over the years. I don't know if this is present with you guys, but basically when I've entered a very intense visual experience on a psychedelic, whether it's shrooms, whether it's sometimes LSD, very rarely, but whether it's Changa, when I'm in a higher dose of these compounds and I'm entering like I would call it the exosphere. Like you're in a place where you are really like you close your eyes and you enter some sort of portal, which is fun, but it's very intense. For whatever reason, often how this manifests for me begins with the sort of like you enter a room, like you're in a place that basically you're experiencing all colors on the spectrum that you could perceive. Like it's almost like the similar theme in all these compounds when I've had this visual experience that's in like a heightened way is you're basically in a intense density of blackness that's also um, complemented or contrasted by a distinct hue of all the colors dancing into each other. Like what I mean by that is like oranges become purples, but then blues become greens and reds become yellows. And they're like very distinctly, like it's like they're almost like in the very sort of border of your perception. It's like almost the same place. It's like you're entering this like visual part. I would almost feel like, I'll be honest, I assume this is maybe just the release of DMT in a visual experience. It's like your brain literally is creating this like beautiful, intricate, almost like hyper real perception of colors dancing into each other. Like it's just simply that. And it's usually shrouded by like the deepest level of density of blackness. Like there's like a blackness and you're in this like other place and you're seeing this beautiful interweaving of the colors of the spectrum that are just shifting into each other continuously. I've seen this on apex moments of psilocybin. I've seen this at apex moments of LSD. I've seen this at apex moments of Changa. And what I mean by apex moments is like moments where they're very high doses. Like it's like the moment where I've been like, oh, this is like me going very deep within the experience. And it's very beautiful because there's obviously more to the visual distortions than that. But for whatever reason, that's what I frequently have seen. Only when I go into a very intense like experience where it's like I'll see that very distinct feeling and sensation of like I'm in another place. It's pure, undescribable, like void and blackness, but it's contrasted by like a hyper real blending of the colors, that are on the rainbow spectrum, but they're distinctly dancing and blending into each other. It's like it's not just like you're seeing one color, like here is yellow. It is like yellow morphing into orange, that is morphing back into yellow, morphing into purple, morphing then into maybe into green, morphing back. Like the colors, they're having this like very unique but contrasting dance that's very just beautifully woven. And again, I would assume maybe that is what it's synonymous with the releasing of DMT. But I don't know. I don't know. Not something I think about a lot. If a blind man were to try shrooms, DMT, salvia. I think people have reported that they've done that. Because, you know, shrooms, of course, it activates all the different centers of the brain, often ones that are not active. You know, like Paul Stamets, he spoke of how he had a lisp. He had a speaking disorder. And after doing like really, really high doses of mushrooms very frequently, his brain just corrected that lisp. And I think, yeah, I remember reading on Reddit about someone saying that they were blind. Or maybe this was a research paper. I don't remember. I don't know exactly, honestly. But it was something vaguely where someone that was blind, they took a very, very high dose of psilocybin. And they did experience some sort of like visual experience, like a visual, yeah. But I guess the reality is, like, when we're talking about psychedelics, like, in relation to my experience, it's very subjective. Like, that's the thing that I can't express enough is, like, there's very few crossover when we're talking about, like, people exploring the, like, the psyche in relation to what one person will experience versus another. It just seems like, I mean, there is crossovers, but I think it's like, you know, from a lifetime of, you know, using shrooms more or less and like seeing how individualistic my experiences are and trying to articulate that to another person in relation to what they experience, you know, beyond just being like, this is what it does to the brain, this is what it does to the amygdala, this is maybe how it's stripping away filters of reality, and maybe this is that and this, but like what it's doing on like a deep, deep level, like spiritually, or like what you're experiencing like in very high doses where you're like in an altered state or like an exosphere as they might call it. That is like almost a complete anomaly. It's almost as mysterious and anomalic as consciousness itself, right? I would think. I don't know. I mean, yeah, those are good thoughts. I like where your mind's at. I like where your mind's at. Man, what time is it right now? 4:13. Word. I should probably close the stream soon because it is my birthday. I'm 32 as officially as today. And my family, they're throwing me a little dinner, cooking a bunch of like kombucha squashes and pierogies and what's it called? Just a bunch of dope foods. So I should probably get back to my home. Should be chilling in a forest streaming when I'm supposed to be having a dinner with my family. Thomas, thank you for subscribing. He talks about different things. Word. Nice. Yeah, welcome to this channel, friend. Subscribe to your channel, pretty interesting stuff you're talking about. Hey, thank you, bro. I usually talk about like metaphysics and, you know, certain philosophies. And I love to talk about psychedelics, like all day long. But yeah. I mean, typically this channel is me creating like meditative portals and talking about music and guitar. But yeah. Are you the spectrum? I think we're all in the spectrum to some degree, but nah, I'm not, I have ADHD. I got ADHD, but I'm definitely not on the autistic spectrum. Yeah. I've thought about it. I mean, I've always considered, I'm like, it has to, maybe I have some sort of, I got some sort of, you know, thing going on. I know I have ADHD. Like, I've had ADHD since I was very young. I've been diagnosed many times. But I'm under the impression I got some other sort of, like, little mental disorder going on. You know, just out of, I don't know. Just, for some reason, I date a lot of women that happened, at least my last couple partners, are, I'm pretty sure she was autistic. I mean, she was just very, very, very quirky. Like, in the most hilarious way where I was just like, she's definitely has to have autism of a sort, like on the spectrum in a subtle way. I mean, she's highly intelligent, but yeah, I don't know, bro. All I can say is autistic people are dope as fuck. I mean, come on. I don't think I have that, but can you show me surroundings? Sure. Yeah, bro. I got you. Oh, standing after sitting. Wow. But this is basically, I'm in this forest. Yeah, let's kind of do that. This is British Columbia forests. We're kind of just chilling here. Got this tree. This is a great tree. I like to stream by this tree, actually. This is one of my favorite spots to kind of just stream. And over there. That's also a great spot over there. That tree that's just sitting by the river. I don't know. Basically, all this forest is very sacred to me. I just spend many hours just chilling here. But yeah, no, I mean, I have to probably wrap the stream up right quick and run back home. Because it's, yeah, my family's coming over to do some sort of family dinner for the birthday. So, oh, I thank you, Edward. Bless. I've, again, low-key, like I've articulated once or twice, it's a weird birthday where I'm going to celebrate with my family. You know, I technically celebrated with my partner the other day. Went to a rave with her and was dancing and, you know, spending the day with her. And I don't know. I'm basically off social media. I'm not doing much for my birthday. I'm going to eat a lot of pierogies and what are they called? Gnocchi. My mom's bringing a bunch of gnocchi. But I'm literally I'm spending my birthday sitting and doing nothing. You know, meditating, resetting my dopamine, writing music. I wrote a bunch of music and did a couple of YouTube videos. Gonna release those YouTube videos. I released one earlier today. Very random. It was just like, I'm like just playing with these artificial harmonics. I'm like, yo, rare harmonics. It's rare harmonic, you know, composition, which is honestly, I have so many weird rare harmonics that I do. So I might just make a bunch of those and just push those out into the algorithm. Be like, these are rare pinch harmonics and microtones that you don't actually hear, because that's what I do a lot. So I think that might be good for the algorithm. I don't know. I just want to blow up on long format YouTube. I'll be honest. Lately, I've just been so focused on that. I also want to start gigging. That's kind of where my vision's been set. Or I've been like, YouTube is great. YouTube is going to go in the direction YouTube goes. But I honestly just low-key just want to meditate a lot and start gigging. Like gigging like crazy. I started a profile on Gig Salad. I'm going to start auditioning to places and basically just doing musical stuff where people can hire me and I can make X amount of money to gig it up, which is a thing I've actually never really approached full on. And I'm like, you know what? I think I'm ready to just gig my brains out. It's great. So that'll be fun. I don't know. Edward has a twin as well. Yes, I do. Yeah, my twin is in Colombia. Yeah, I got to let him wish him a happy birthday at some point. Too smarts is not easy. Many boomers and millennials are undiagnosed ADHD. Yeah. Yeah. Do you not feed fear bears? Oh, do I not fear bears? I mean, I've met a handful of bears out here. I live in a sort of remoter area that's very peaceful, where the bears aren't that agitated. You know, they've had good experiences with humans. So when I see bears, unless it's like a family, you know, like a mother bear and her cubs, I've run into her a few times. Actually, if I were to walk that away, that's usually where I run into the mother bear. But I don't know. I just stumble across them. I swear, actually, like about a month ago, I think I was on LSD and I was wandering that way, and I was going to do a cold plunge, like in the regular spot where I cold plunge, just that away, and I basically I walked right up on where I like enter the river area, and there was a mother bear just sitting right there, like literally just chilling, and I didn't even acknowledge that she was there. I was just kind of like, you know, I was like, oh, whatever, it's, you know, I'm just gonna go into my forest, this is my path. And then as soon as I got like within like a meter, she just does this like aggressive kind of bluff roar, just like roar, and I'm just like, I don't even know the sound. It was more just like roar, just looking at me. And I just remember sitting there and being like, yeah, I'm like, just peacefully turned around. I was just like, okay, I was like, and I didn't feel threatened. I didn't feel like it was in danger, but I was like, okay, I'm in this space, like I'm in her space, and I just turned around and just didn't go back. But usually it's not like, I don't even think she just, it was like more like a bluff. It was like a bluff noise. It wasn't like a roar, like she wasn't aggravated, but it was a bluff. Like she knew she needed to like set her ground. But beyond that, the few times that I run into bears, they're usually smaller bears, and we just stare at each other. Like we have staring contests, and I'll just be like, go up to them and be like, hello, friend. It's great to see you. I'm really happy you're here. And then we'll just stare at each other for a while. And then eventually I'll just go on. So I don't fear bears. No. No. I don't think bears are that dangerous. Don't run, just walk. Yeah, honestly, dude, every time I've seen a bear, I literally just slowly walk away. Like, I'll get a little startled. Like, if they're close to me, I'll just be like, whoa, that's a bear. And then I'll just be like, just give them a little bit of peace and then just turn around. This was interesting and chill. I like the forest. Enjoy your birthday. Why, thank you. TS Choop, TS Choop. What's good? Blessings from Canada to Kenya. Thanks for sharing your Monday. Hey, thanks. Who was that? Yeah, I don't even know. Yeah, Phoenix was so quick to the draw. She just knocked Drex out. I swear, like I kind of said at the start of the stream, and honestly, people were still being relatively mellow. Like there was like maybe a few trolls that were just like blah 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 blah, saying some nonsense. And like the other day, like 2 or 3 days ago, I was doing this. I was meditating in the forest. Like I'm just sitting there, like literally just sitting and meditating for a few 5 minutes maybe at a time, and then I'll return and talk about meditation and metaphysics. And then there was like streams of trolls. They came through. They really just popped up, and I was just like, damn. And I remember sitting with him, being like, this makes sense. Like this really makes sense. Like if we really really think about it. Like if we really think about what is the epicenter of what I'm advocating when I'm meditating in a forest, chilling, talking about meditation. I'm basically trying to address compulsive patterns, compulsive behavior. If a person's showing up to a stream and being like, blah, 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 like throwing out some outlandish projections, they're compulsive. Like they're operating compulsive programming. They're not being autonomous. Like that's just the way they're showing up. That's the life they're living currently. And it is what it is, but it's almost like it's fate. In some rights, they're deeply unconsciously desiring to break free of that programming. Like no one wants to be operating in compulsive programming. No one wants to be bleeding their insecurities on the world around them. But on some deep level, they're trying to resolve it. So, maybe them going through a stream and seeing someone doing something that's outside of compulsive activity is helping them try to resolve it. Now, that doesn't mean that they're entitled to participating in a stream. This doesn't mean they're going to be enabled, but to some way, that's to some degree, that's them resolving that weird little compulsive projection or tick that they're trying to work through. And you know what? It is what it is. And some people, they're just trolling, they're trying to be funny, they're trying to jumpstart their stand-up comedy career. Look at this moss piece. They're trying to be funny. They're trying to learn how to be funny. They probably need to go a little further with that, but I don't know. Shrooms was good. I mean, I don't know, bro. I haven't done shrooms in a couple weeks now. But they were great. They were great. Bear, not fight. Yeah. Only wild boars. Honestly, bro, I would love to see wild boars. I mean, I say that. I'm sure boars are probably like freaking a lot more aggressive than wild bears. I would assume. Wild boars. These crows. I should probably bounce though. I should head back. My family is doing a dinner. And I think it would be, I gotta, yeah. I gotta do the birthday dinner thing and hang out with my family, even though I'm very sort of black sheep type. They try, though. They're great. They try. Shrooms, the vats. Good words. Good words. No careful giggling, your brain's out. So never mind, you got this. Ah, okay. Bless. Blessings from Canada. Blessings from Canada to Germany, my dog. Yeah, Canadian dog. Yes. Very Canadian. I mean, Canada's kind of crazy in some regards. I'm not really. Like, in the greater context, we're pretty sane, pretty blessed. But, in British Columbia, which is where I'm at, the economy is insane, bro. Like, the economy is insane. The housing market, insane. The jobbing market, insane. I mean, we're still a first world country, obviously. So we're doing great, I'm sure. But man, I don't know. You gotta aim very high if you live in British Columbia. Like, it's like kind of a running joke. You gotta bring money with you if you're gonna live in like the Lower Mainland. Like, you really gotta you gotta aim high if you want to like own an apartment or something in British Columbia. Yeah. What exactly when people say the economy is bad? What does that mean, broski? Yeah. It's British Columbia, bro. I don't know. I'm more referring to the housing market. The housing market. And then an extension, that means like the rent prices. An extension, that means in relation to the job market. But I don't know, bro. I'm also an outlier. I typically work in the film industry. I got money saved. I freaking, I desire to be a professional YouTuber and gigger, performance artist. I live in a sort of Mars type reality. Like, the things I do, I'm not your 9 to 5 laborer, living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, I've spent many, many, many years doing that. But the reality is, I don't know. I guess all I'm saying is it's good to aim big. You gotta aim. You gotta transcend the system and break outside of the matrix, or at least try. I don't know. I don't know. That's all. I guess that's the sentiment that I'm trying to underline. You gotta aim big and break outside of the matrix. You gotta at least try to break outside of the matrix, or else you never will break outside of the matrix. And again, I'm like new to the YouTube sphere. I'm new to entrepreneurialism, but I think I'm also destined to do this. I'm destined to try. Yeah, you're not the slave. Got it. I mean, sure, bro. Yeah. Yes. Bless. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not a slave. I don't think I could be if I tried. But I don't know. It's again, I've made many sacrifices in my life. I've made many conscious decisions to honor something beyond a system. I don't know. Again, I've just never been happy and comfortable just doing the standard thing. Like, it's been a thing that's been deeply ingrained ever since I was very young. So, unfortunate in that regard. I hear a mosquito. Yeah. It's a business class. You want business class, right? Why in a plane in a business class in economy? Okay. Nice. Sure. Who doesn't want a good plane flight? These are interesting stuff, but I don't know. You're hinging onto an interesting complex there, bud. But we'll address that in the next episode. Well, thank you so much for being here. Deeply appreciate the support. This was, again, just a random meditating in the forest stream talking about just talking about whatever flows through. And hey, honestly, I'm here for it, friends. I honestly, I'm a strong, firm believer in just trying to share what's been flowing through, relating to like meditative practice, trying to navigate and traverse these waters of being a YouTuber, but also trying to, just exercise and share the mentalities behind what it means to just be a harmonious human being. Like basically, if I'm practicing meditation, seeing breakthroughs with meditation in my life and how that relates to, just learning to be more present and basically integrate practices that directly address the greater pathologies that a lot of us are experiencing, which is, again, like I've underlined multiple times, things like compulsive manipulative programming. I think it's a valid thing to hold space for. But anyways, with that, I appreciate you guys. Appreciate you so much, Phoenix here. Appreciate you. You're a gem. Yeah, that guy. Yeah, he's just he's riding the razor edge. Hey, he's speaking his truth. Important information for freedom. Yeah, there's a flock camera behind you. Sure, there is, brother. Anyways, hope you guys have a good day and a good night, wherever you guys are at, and have a good life, as Wim Hof would say. I'm gonna eat some pierogies and some gnocchi. And I'll probably go to the gym, and that's my birthday. Self love, self care, all day long, baby. But anyways, thank you for being here. Hope you guys have a great day. And yeah, feel free to chime into my long format content that I'm going to be just gunning out. Like that's that's been the focus that I'm really feeling inspired to really gun. I'm like, man, if I can just release some quality, beautifully mastered compositions and put out some beautiful content on my long form algorithm and crack that code, that would be very fulfilling. So I'm looking forward to that. So if you desire to support that, feel free to check out the long format stuff, bro. Yeah. Anyways, thank you. Bless. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Magic. Ashe. Ashe, my friend.